Okay, welcome to everyone. We are going to get started. So today, let me first introduce myself. My name is Brooks Bonner. I am an admissions counselor here with the Organization for Tropical Studies. We are based here in Durham, North Carolina, our North American office. We also have offices in Costa Rica as well as South Africa. We work to promote scientific research in the tropics. And one of our new and exciting programs that we've developed for this year with the University of Hawai'i Hilo is a summer course called Tropical Island Ecology and Evolution. So hopefully you guys have joined the correct Trop Talk. We are going to have a few more coming up in the next couple of weeks. But today we are going to be joined, or we are joined by Kristina Paxton. She is from the biology department at the University of Hawai'i at Hilo, and she is going to be giving us a quick overview of this program that is going to be running for the first time this summer. So it's really exciting. We're really pumped about offering this new program in collaboration with the University of Hawai'i at Hilo. Before we get started, and actually, while probably Kristina is going to turn on her screen here, I'll kind of go over how this is all going to work. So Kristina is going to get started here shortly and kind of give you an overview of the program, what it's about, what you can expect. And then at the end, there'll be an opportunity for you prospective students to ask some questions to us. So the way you're going to do that, and I'll give you a quick tutelage on how that works, or how I'm going to know if you do have a question so I can unmute you, is if you go to the window of the Fuse software in the bottom right-hand corner, you should see 3 consecutive dots. If you take your cursor over that, and do this with me right now so that everyone has a good idea how this works. If you take your cursor to that More menu, you'll see it pop up a More menu. You click on that, and a drop-down box will appear. It'll give you lots of different options. If you do have a question at the end of the talk here, what you're going to select is Raise Your Flag. Once you select Raise Your Flag, it's going to notify me that you do have a question that you want to ask. That way, when we get to the end, I can unmute you. You can ask your question to the group, and everyone can hear that question and then hear Kristina's response. So hopefully that's pretty clear. When we get to the end, like I said, you'll have an opportunity to ask your questions. But without further ado, I want to present Kristina Paxton, who's going to go ahead and lead this talk, and for the initial and first Tropical Island Ecology and Evolution course this summer in Hawaii. So Kristina, please take it away.
Hey, thanks, Brooks. So, as Brooks mentioned, we're really excited that this is the first time we're going to be offering the Tropical Island Ecology and Evolution course here in Hawaii. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why would you want to come and study here in Hawaii, and why would you want to study ecology and evolution? So when most people think of Hawaii, you think of the beaches, the white sandy beaches, hula dancing and luau's. That's what you always see in the movie. But really, from an ecological sense, Hawaii it's a biodiversity hotspot. In particular, the Big Island, the Hawaii Island where the class is going to be held, there's a huge environmental variation, more than all of North America combined. And this is really due to the extraordinary variation in elevation from sea level all the way to 14,000 feet at the top of Mauna Kea. And so you can see pictured here, you can be in the snow one day on the top of Mauna Kea playing in snow, and come all the way down into our beaches and then go for a swim all in one day. So this huge elevational gradient results in large differences in rainfall, and from 250 millimeters to over 6,000. So most people think of Seattle, Washington as being a really wet area. They only get about 1,000 millimeters of rainfall a year. Over 6,000 millimeters can be in some areas, creating incredibly lush tropical forests. And then yet we have others with very small amounts of rainfall with these desert ecosystems. So this huge amount of elevational gradient creates this diversity of ecosystems just on the Hawaii island. And this is across all of the islands, but I'm going to focus on Hawaii Island where the course is going to be held. So we will be exposed to areas such as tropical dry forests, tropical wet forests, volcanic, newly erupted areas with just fresh lava with very little vegetation, all the way up to desert and cloud forests. And all of these habitats then have a diversity of plants and animals. And the Hawaii ecosystem not only has diverse ecosystems across it, but also because of our geographic isolation, being over 2,000 miles from the nearest continental landmass, we have a high degree of endemism, where there over 90% of the biota here in Hawaii is endemic. It's found nowhere else except for in Hawaii. And we have the classic examples that you'll hear in your ecology and evolutionary textbooks for your adaptive radiation. So we have the Hawaii honey creepers, where one finch came and colonized the island, and it has radiated into hundreds of different species. There's also examples of radiation with silver swords, with our Drosophila um, picture wing fruit flies. And so these are just examples of adaptive radiation. And so the Hawaiian Islands are a really incredible place to study ecological and evolutionary processes. Unfortunately, Hawaii Island also has the distinction of being um, uh, having the most endangered species in all of the United States. And this is because there's many threats to the Hawaiian ecosystem. We have many invasive species such as pigs and cattle, which dramatically alter the landscape. There's also introduced species like mongoose and rats who predate eggs of, say, Hawaiian forest birds. And we have invasive plant species. And because of this, we've had a large number of extinctions and also many species on the endangered species list. So Hawaii is a really important place for biodiversity conservation research. And because of that, we think that the combination of being sort of this biodiversity hotspot with all of the different ecosystems, but yet having a lot of conservation needs, Hawaii is a really great place to come and learn about ecology and evolution. And the goal of the class is to provide hands-on experience in ecological and evolutionary research. So we'll be visiting throughout the 4-week course. We will go to different systems where we'll be able to work with scientists and local managers who are working in those habitats to do mini projects and then also do one larger project at the end of the class. And so this will really provide an in-depth sort of immerse yourself into ecology and evolutionary research. To give you an idea of some of the sites that we'll be visiting, we'll be starting off at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. This is a World Heritage Site. It's significant for its geological, biological, and cultural resources. The national park ranges all the way from sea level to 14,000 feet, encompassing both Kilauea and Mauna Loa, which are the two most active volcanoes in the world. So we actually currently have lava flowing into the ocean, which is a pretty amazing sight to see. And because of that, this ecosystem is constantly in a changing sort of flux. And because, again, it encompasses this entire gradient and elevation, there's many different habitats. And the park is a leader in restoration. They have been doing long-term control of invasive species and really restoring and sustaining Hawaii ecosystems. So an amazing place to be able to conduct ecological research. We'll also be going to a site in Waipio Valley. Waipio Valley is in the northern part of the island. It's known for its lush tropical forests. It has these amazing steep cliffs with waterfalls, with these picturesque sites. And at this site, we'll be we'll be working with a nonprofit organization who runs a taro farm and focusing not only on our ecological system, but also learning about the Hawaiian cultural ties to the land. And in this area where they have a real stewardship to trying to advance Hawaii resources. So a unique opportunity to not only learn about the Hawaii ecosystem, but also to understand some of our cultural and significant aspects in Hawaii. Another site that we'll be going to for a week is called Puvawa, and this is our dry forest, a tropical dry forest. And this is on the leeward side of the island. It's an incredibly dry area, and our tropical dry forests are one of the most imperiled habitats in the tropic. That's worldwide, but definitely here on the Hawaiian island. And they're very rare habitats. And this area, the Puvawa uh, forest has been a premier area for forest restoration, which has had large benefits for the plants and animals. And so, again, this opportunity to work with managers and scientists who are working in these habitats will allow then you as a student to learn not only the natural history of the area, but also the threats to the different ecosystems, and then getting those hands-on experiences with being able to do research projects in this habitat. And then to contrast with our tropical dry forest, we'll also be then ending the class at our Hakalau forest, which is a tropical wet forest. Total opposite. You can see pictured here, it's just there's moss growing on everything. You leave your shoes out for too long and they'll be completely covered. It's just such a wet ecosystem. And the Hakalau forest has been set aside for specifically for the Hawaii honey creepers, and it's an amazing place for seeing and studying the Hawaii honey creepers. It's also a premier area for restoration for our tropical wet forest. And so through visiting these different sites across the Hawaiian island that all have very different very encompass very different ecosystems. It'll provide opportunities to work in different habitats, learn about the natural history within these areas, and also the threats and ways that conservation actions are being done within these ecosystems. So we're hoping the goals of the class then is to really immerse you as a student into the tropical system, providing hands-on experience in a variety of different ecosystems, where you, instead of just hearing about these classical examples of adaptive radiation in your textbook, you'll actually be able to see them, be able to see species that you would see nowhere else in the world, and learn from and work with scientists that are doing research in Hawaii, and just really allowing for that deep connection to be made within a tropical ecosystem, and then that these things that you'll learn here then can be applied within other tropical systems, and just an amazing environment for learning ecology and evolutionary processes. So a pretty quick overview of the course. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about specifics for the course. And you can always get information about the course on our website, which has the syllabus and other information also. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Kristina. Yeah, we do want to open it up to questions at this time. So go ahead and in your lower right-hand corner of your screen, click that more menu and raise your flag if you do have a question. While we're waiting for that, maybe I'll ask a question. I'm sure a lot of students are wondering is kind of what's the timeline for, let's say a student is interested, what's the application deadline for this program?
So the application deadline for the program is it is March 1st is when we're asking applications to be put in. And on our website, we have a process where there's just some general questions to ask, and then we have a short essay to be written about why you'd be interested in this class, and then we're asking for 2 recommendations from a faculty that you've either worked with or been in class with. And so those will be all submitted electronically, and then we will begin reviewing upon receipt of the applicants. And those that apply early will have priority because we do have a maximum of 16 students for the class.
Okay, great, great. I'm sure a lot of students want to know that. So it looks like Kevin from UNLV has a question. So Kevin, I've unmuted you here. Can you hear us okay? Kevin, go ahead with your question if you can hear us. Nope, I'm not hearing Kevin. Maybe he's having an issue there. Make sure your microphone's connected there. Yeah, so March 1st is the application deadline. If you're interested in this program, and as Kristina said, it's capped at 16 students. So you want to make sure that you get your application done sooner rather than later. But that way you don't run the risk of us running out of room in the course. Let's see if Kevin can get Kevin working again, unless someone else has a question. Kevin, can you hear us? Nope, nothing from Kevin. Okay, maybe that was his question. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, so let me see. Actually, someone's chatting in the window here. Let's see if there's no other questions. Let me see. Oh, so it looks like Kevin's question, or excuse me, his microphone is not working. He wants to ask the question in the chat. So Kevin, if you want to go ahead and type it there, I can relay your question to the group. Let me communicate with him real quick. I'm waiting for Kevin to ask his question here. Okay. So Kevin's question is, would the lodging be for the course? Would the lodging be at the university, or how would that work with this program?
That's a great question. So for this course, because it is a hands-on experience, and we will be spending the course doing ecological research, we will be staying at each one of the 4 sites that I talked about. So at the beginning of the course, we will stay at the UH campus for like a day or two as we get organized and we talk about the class. But then we will be staying at these sites. So it'll be a combination of staying in housing at the national park. We will be doing some camping and at different areas, and at all the places we will have access to cooking facilities. And so part of the course fees covers your lodging at all of the different places, along with your food and the materials needed for the course. And so by doing that, you're really enabling us to be able to have these hands-on experiences. Because the Hawaii island is so large, if we were to have to drive every day out to these sites, that would take a large amount of time. And so we will be staying at the sites. I can say for the Waipio Valley, we visited the area the other day, and it's a pretty amazing campsite with a overview of a waterfall going out into the coast. So there will be some pretty amazing sites to be able that a lot of people don't have access to.
Yes, good question, Kevin. So he actually has a follow-up. So he says, that is very cool. So I presume we'll be busy on the weekends.
Yeah, so this course, the way it's designed, is not it's not a traditional course in that you're sitting in a classroom for a specific period of time, but it is obviously designed that you will have free time. So the way we've designed it is that As we're transitioning from one place to the other, we will have what we call sometimes a free day, where as we're driving from one area to the other, so as we're going from Volcanoes Park out to the dry forest on the leeward side, we'll probably stop and sightsee and visit beaches or other places along the way. So it will have opportunity for free time, but a lot of that free time will be to explore these areas. And I will say, like the Hakalau Forest is closed to the public, so it's a place that not everyone gets to access. So an amazing place to visit. The Waipio Valley. It's an incredibly remote area, so really hard to get to, only with four-wheel drive vehicle. And by staying at this nonprofit with working with this nonprofit, it really allows for exposure to areas that you wouldn't be in otherwise. So I have a feeling that people will really enjoy that time off to explore on their own some of these amazing areas.
Yeah, that's a good point that that Christina brings up in terms of this is not your traditional type of either not necessarily a study abroad, but or a study away experience. This is a field course, so it's not going to be tons of time spent in lecture halls and things of that nature. We really want to get you out in the field. We want you to experience these things, in person, hands-on through experiential learning, so that you can learn how to potentially do this type of research as you progress in your career or whatever you decide to do.
Yes, very much hands-on. That is our goal, is to provide you with those hands-on experiences.
Okay, so let's see. Anyone, before we let everything go here, we don't want to keep everyone too long. But yeah, if there's no other questions, I would say, actually, no, it looks like Kevin does have a follow-up question. It's good. I do like questions here. So, so he's asking, says, do I apply both at my university and at Hilo? He's like, I don't really know where to start. He's basically asking.
So the application process is going to be through Hilo. What you'll want to do is to make sure these courses are designed so that they can be transferred to your university. And what you can do is take the syllabus and show that to your academic advisor and let them see, oh, this would be equivalent to this course at your university. But what we do is we have a two-step application process, which you will not apply to the University of Hilo at the beginning. First, you'll do the online application that we have. Then when you're accepted to the program, then you will have to fill out, it's just a short form for application to the University of Hawaii. So this will be course credit through the University of Hawaii, and that tuition will be paid to the University of Hawaii. And then you will be able to transfer these credits to your university.
Yeah, always a good idea. Anytime you're taking courses through another institution or university, you always want to speak with your advisor, make sure that this fits in line with your plan to graduate. Um, and scholarships, I believe he's now Kevin also has a question about scholarships. How does that process work? Christina, can you address that?
We do have a few available scholarships for the program, and uh, for students that are looking for financial aid, that would be a separate process. That would be through sending an email through the to me through the website, and then from there we could talk more specifics about what would have to be done. There are a few scholarship opportunities; those would be preferentially given to from students of a Hawaiian or Pacific Islanders, but though they are available for all potentially for all students.
Yeah, it's something. Anytime you're applying for additional financial aid, obviously you have to make sure that you qualify in terms of you can't if you're already receiving funds through FAFSA. We've got to make sure that we're not providing more than what's necessarily, or that you can be awarded within an academic year. So there's several factors that come into play. But I think in general, the sooner you apply, the potential for more funding being available to each student. So. Um, as we wrap this thing up, just want to say thanks for everyone for attending here for the first Trop Talk for Tropical Island Ecology and Evolution. Thank you, Dr. Paxton, for joining us and giving this great talk. Those are some great photos. I kind of want to apply myself.
We're really excited to be offering this course. This is really exciting to get this going, and we can't wait for a really great group of students to have our first Tropical Island Ecology and Evolution course here at the University of Hawaii, and we're excited to be in partnership with the Organization for Tropical Studies, just to really start advancing these ideas of ecology and evolution within tropical systems.
Sounds great. And I will send a follow-up email to all participants with our contacts in that email. So if you do have any follow-up questions, you can email either Kristina or myself.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.